The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.
Some crimes are so heinous that they defy explanation. Dark crimes that leave investigators speechless due to the absolute vileness of the perpetrators. In the fall of 2012, one of these crimes was discovered in a town in the Canadian province of Quebec. A crime of such unthinkable barbarity that it launched one of the largest police investigations in the history of Canada. An international team of investigators were gathered to piece together the evidence and solve this crime of unmatched barbarity that reached across Canada's southern border into parts of the northeastern U.S. Those affected by these crimes had no idea how an atrocity of this magnitude could have been committed right under their noses for close to a year. This case file joined the theorists as they plumbed the depths of absolute evil in the Great Canadian Maple Syrup Heist.
Bienvenue to Alien Theorist Theorizing Case File 169. Je m'appelle Braden.
Je suis elle, la meilleure théoricienne et leader de ces imbéciles.
I'm Dan.
That's Andrew.
I don't even know what I said.
First off, Merry Christmas to everyone, because unless you're listening to this live, this is going to come out Christmas Day. So Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Cheers.
Cheers from us to you. Now prepare yourself for a little Canadian history. Because from time to time on this show, we like to, move on from, the serious, move on from the weird and wacky and get into serious crimes.
True.
And this one is close to home. We're going to educate you all on the greatest heist
in all history. The world.
Yeah, in history.
In all of the world.
This is the Great Canadian Maple Syrup Heist.
Some dark Canadian true crime.
Listen, we're not going to have fun talking about this. This is serious shit.
Yep,
this devastated our country. We're talking about the lifeblood of our country. Maple syrup.
Listen, it's true. No Canadian's ever a hand reach away from maple syrup.
It's true.
Just saying.
Delicious.
I mean, it runs through your blood. It's on your flags.
Can't
it's
go
part
wrong.
of your national identity. So much. I mean, what would you be without maple syrup?
Two red stripes and a bunch of white. That would be it.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
I mean, you guys would be pretty much Switzerland, but
without
the plus.
Less bank accounts.
Yeah, without the money, maybe.
Yeah.
So, yes, as Braden says, we're talking about the Great Maple Syrup Heist of 2011-2012. It is considered the greatest if like the most profitable heist in Canadian history, followed by, if you want to look it up, it's the Gem Star heist, which is the second most notable crime in Canadian history. So you might be thinking to yourself, oh, maple syrup, what the fuck? Why would people want to steal maple syrup? Which is insane. Quick little background on maple syrup. If you
before
don't
Dan,
know,
I just wanted to add that this is also the largest maple syrup heist of all time.
Boom.
Not just in Canada, of all
anywhere.
time. If you can believe that, nowhere has more maple syrup ever been stolen.
really,
this
I wouldn't have thought that.
It's a little tidbit for you.
So drive me crazy.
So if you didn't know, maple syrup, if you haven't had it before, I know that I don't normally eat maple syrup on my things. I know Canadians probably put it on everything.
Well, you don't get chicken waffles or anything, Dan? Isn't that like an American staple?
We do, but we don't. We use the high fructose corn syrup down here. That's our national.
Oh, it's the watery
condiment
shit. I spit on that.
Maple syrup is made from the sap of the sugar maple tree, but you can also use the sap from two different other trees, the red maple and the black maple. Something very interesting that I learned was that the maple tree that they use, that specific type of tree, the sugar maple, only grows within relatively small area of Northeast, like the North Americas. So in the part of Quebec that produces it, which is like about this Quebec. Sorry, Quebecois, whatever. And then, and the little portion of that, but it also grows through the northeastern United States, pretty much as far as Wisconsin. You have these type of maple trees. The largest producer of maple syrup is Quebec.
No,
Quebec.
coming out of these veins, pal. That's where it's coming from.
Glowing.
I'll tell you that much.
And just for anyone who's following on the live stream, Quebec is, let me see, where's my map here? This is the accurate map
Accurate map of the Great White
of
North.
Canada. Oh, it's
Here. Great
right
job.
here.
The more you know.
The more you know.
Quebec is responsible for 70% of the world's output of maple syrup. So, and in Canada, it is 90.83% of maple syrup produced in Canada in 2015. The next closest provinces are New Brunswick.
It's not even close.
It's not even close. New Brunswick comes in with about 5%, Ontario with about 4%, Nova Scotia about 0.2%.
Scotia.
Scotia.
Yeah, and Ontario.
Other countries do produce maple syrup, but not in the great amounts.
Inferior.
It's piss.
Yeah.
I spit on it.
Watered down shit.
The United States, Vermont is the largest producer.
Lies.
Followed by Maine, or states like New York and Maine. And then you have now the maple syrup industry has pretty much some parts has actually globalized. So you do have some other countries like Japan and Germany that produce their own maple syrup.
Dan, why can't you just let us have this? Just let us have the syrup, man.
Yeah. All the rest of
you have 70% of the
enough.
globally produced.
We want it all.
Hey, listen.
Greedy.
Everyone knows they're jumping in because everyone knows maple syrup is strictly sold in tourist shops that sells some weird ass animal t-shirts, some beavers, and some little Canadian maple syrup things. And that's it. That's the only place to buy them.
Now, maple syrup is considered a extremely valuable commodity. I came across this statistic many times during my research is that a full barrel of maple syrup is worth about $1,200 American. And that's about 18 times the value of U.S. crude oil.
Yeah, I like to refer to it as just crude syrup, actually.
Yeah. From crude syrup. Listen, it's when I first learned that, I was, again, it comes up a lot. Anyone to do with maple syrup loves pointing that out.
Big syrup. Big syrup's all about it.
Yeah, big syrup is, and underlying of this story is there is in fact big syrup.
Big time.
Like without a doubt, big syrup. It's wild to me. Like they basically got shipping containers floating off in the sea. Like, don't bring it to port. The prices are dipping. Like, keep that crude out there.
People always talk about a global cabal, like financial, whatever. No, we have a legit cabal formulating in Quebec, Canada.
Formulating? Well-established
cabal.
and controlling the market price of our syrup. We are drastically overpaying. So ask yourself this. When you go into the supermarket, ask yourself, have you ever seen the price of syrup vary at all? Ever? No. It's always high. You're always paying expensive prices for syrup, and that's because the big syrup is controlling the market. And that's not even a conspiracy. This is real, people. Wake up.
So Braden, the Alex Jones of maple syrup, is referring to the Federation of Quebec Maple Syrup Producers, or usually referred to by the acronym FPAQ. FPAQ.
Or up north, we consider them Vanilla Isis. All right. Bad dudes.
Vanilla Isis. Oh, I'm glad you kept that from me all day so I wouldn't steal it.
So the way that they operate is very close, or people compare them often to OPEC. So Quebec has also gained kind of the informal title of the Saudi Arabia of maple syrup. This Federation of Maple Syrup Producers, essentially how they function, they were formed about 15 years ago. And it was a bunch of maple syrup sellers that operated in Quebec, and they figured that the best way to kind of mitigate the fluctuating prices that you experienced, or really in
anything experiences of like supply and demand, they're like, we can beat this. We can beat supply and demand.
No, supply and command.
There you go. Supply and demand
of
yes, and also agricultural businesses. So, if you have a good growing season, you're going to flood the market and the price is going to fall. The price of your product is going to fall. If you have a bad season, then you're going to have less syrup, and then that means that the prices are going to be high. So the problem that this creates is that you have buyers that are hesitant to purchase your product, not knowing what the price is going to be, or they're not going to buy during high season or during a low season, and then you don't make enough
Dan,
money.
You don't have to explain this because everyone who plays that fucking Animal Crossing or whatever knows, right? You want to purchase your turnips, sell your turnips when they're high, and buy them when they're cheap to exchange them for bells. Everyone knows this. It's basic Animal Crossing economics.
Sure. So
you got maple syrup producers hedging their syrup all in a conglomerate.
Right. And so another function of this FPAQ is for them to store excess maple syrup in what is termed the Global Strategic Reserve of maple syrup. They have a system of warehouses where they store excess maple syrup. Each producer, which is about right now, I think it's about 13,500 producers of maple syrup that belong to FPAQ in Quebec, and that they are assigned quotas. Once you reach your quota, that excess that you produce during that season is shipped to the warehouse, and then it is sold later. But it could be from, months to years till that gets sold, and then you get paid for your product.
It's nonstop referred, these warehouses with the crude syrup is nonstop referred to as the global supply, the global reserves of maple syrup. And they're not lying. It's all the world's maple syrup we store in Quebec and just control this FPAQ just controls the prices.
This is legitimately this is satire, man. I'm listening to this. It's legitimately being, all joking aside, being in Western Canada. This just I remember reading about this. It reads like it's an article in the fucking Onion.
Yeah, it totally does.
You know what I mean? This is fucking hilarious.
You're like, what do you mean the global reserves
now
maple syrup? What?
I was going to say, do they call it the global reserve, but do they store any other nations, or is it all from Quebec?
Oh, I would be your global strategic. It's all Quebec. It's all pretty much the Federation of the federations. I'll just refer to them as
70% of the world's crude syrup barrels
Syrup.
are stored usually one location or maybe multiple. We're going to get into it, but
it's usually there's one warehouse. One of the main places that they used to store it is there's a place like it's like they said it's about 3 hours east of Montreal. There's one place that they
the only way to get to that place, you got to hop on your bombardier there and fucking take a left there by Ernie's place, and there it is.
And I have to ask, because we, with how many fucking times we've heard that crude syrup is, 3 times more than oil. I got to imagine with a product like this, like you're probably storing it in some sort of fucking lockdown Fort Knox facility like oil, because you can't be just storing these things at the fucking at Dale's U-Haul and storage.
Yeah, you can't be willy-nilly about it, but you can't be willy-nilly about this liquid gold.
I'm picturing I'm picturing bunkers, armed guards,
Mounties everywhere, boys, like everywhere.
Real Mounties. I'm not talking about the ones that drive cars. I want to see some actual mounted police on the fucking horses.
So if you're picturing a Fort Knox of Canada before 2012, you'd be wrong, because pretty much the highest form of security that they had at one of their warehouses was a fence.
Well, you got to tell me, Dudley Do-Right was there at least.
Dudley Do-Right?
Yeah, fuck yeah. That guy's a national goddamn hero.
It just blows me away that all these barrels, every single one of these barrels is stored in essentially a fucking U-Haul facility.
But it looks like when we were watching Dirty Money, it looked like it looked like an episode of Storage Wars, basically. You know what I mean? Just bush league, like little padlock on the fucking door, zipper up. Yeah, boys, that's where the fuck syrup is, right over there. Hey,
the code's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Enter.
Yeah. So with the formation of FPEC, you also have this a burgeoning, and probably that it still exists today. There is what is considered a black market for maple syrup, because a lot of sellers are not happy, or there are some sellers that are not happy with what the terms
price
that
fixing.
the FPEC kind of lays out.
Well, and you got to remember, it's kind of a weird thing that's happened is you have this like organization that's come in and been like, we now own all the maple syrup. If it's on your land, we don't care. We own it.
Control.
You have to sell to us. And that's it. And if you don't sell to us, you try to sell somewhere else, we're going to fine you, because
and
there's
mafia,
a new law.
Man.
There's a new law that we say is a law.
Yeah, there are some stipulations to that. So, but Braden is not wrong. There is while producers are allowed to sell as much as they want directly to consumers, all the bulk sales need to go through the Federation, and the Federation charges approximately 14 cents a pound fee for both administrative and marketing costs.
Charge 14 cents a pound payment to the mafia.
That's why when everybody in Canada, everybody's got a guy.
Yeah.
I got a guy. Andrew's got a guy.
I got a guy. His name's Kirkland.
And if you're wondering what those marketing costs go towards, just go ahead and look up the maple syrup superhero Syrup Cool, who is known apparently as the smartest superhero in the galaxy. He looks like a drop of maple syrup, and he gets his lightning quick reflexes.
He kind of looks like a drop of piss. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it looks like a piss drop.
Looks like he needs worth $1,800 a barrel.
Whoever let that loose needs some water.
Exactly. He looked dehydrated. So basically, Dan, is what you're saying is these guys came in and told him, hey, you fucking hosers, we're going to tax you on your fucking oil. And some of these guys said, well, that's the way she goes, boys. It is what it is. And these other guys were like, fuck that. That's bullshit.
Black market.
Right. So you had this black market that probably existed since the formation of the Federation. There's a lot of people who are, fiercely independent. From what I understand in my reading of the maple syrup business, is that a lot of times these are family owned business. They're passed down through generations. You grow these groves of trees. You see them grow from saplings to whatever, to a full grown tree. these stands of trees are your family legacies. So a lot of families feel like, giving their livelihood over to a federation that they're not allowed to do with what they want with what is essentially their entire livelihood, they feel, shorted in some way.
Yeah, no
Wow,
kidding.
you gotta fight back against the big syrup fucking empire, man.
They're coming for you.
They are.
Well, it is like we've kind of said, it's mafia-like. This organization came in and was like, hey, listen, you're selling bulk to us, and if you don't, we're going to fine you. They're like, why? They're like, well, we've basically bought off the politicians, and they've said that this is law now in our province only.
He's lying. You know what he's doing is he's lying in fucking Trudeau's pockets with fucking syrup. He's got the good stuff. Buddy.
Yeah, everybody knows when they say Trudeau's got sticky fingers, it's because of all the fucking syrup.
Fucking rights, man.
The WE scandal is all a front for the syrup scandal. That's about
big
to
syrup, man.
Hey, listen, all that shit pales in comparison to the syrup scandal. But it's a weird thing because every province that circles Quebec, they have a free market system, so they're free to buy from these independent sellers. But the Federation goes like, if you sell to them, we will fine you because you're not allowed. But the other provinces aren't under the umbrella of this weird provincial mafia that runs Big Syrup.
It's fucking weird.
And that's 70% of the syrup.
It's a really wild situation going on in Quebec. The wild, wild west of syrup.
So now you have this environment where you have a large supply of syrup that is going pretty much untapped. You have this black market, so there is a demand for maple syrup, and you have this idea that formulates within some people's heads. The one that we do know about, that what we're titling the Great Maple Syrup Heist, is perhaps not even the first one that's ever been committed. It's probably,
we should have said the greatest.
It is the greatest
so
one.
far.
Right, so far that we know of. From one of these, it started in about 2011, if we want to go that far. And the only reason that we found out about this, or that the authorities started to find out about this, is that every year, the FPAC takes inventory of the barrels in every one of their warehouses, wherever they store
every one of their U-Haul storage facilities.
Yeah. Right.
Hey, it's top of the line, pal.
Now, as
they
you
got
can
paladin
imagine,
security going around in their fucking Yaris's checking shit out. Go on now. Those guys got whistles and flashlights.
Yeah. So you could consider that I would consider some of the security measures being that these barrels of syrup weigh about 600 pounds each. So it's not easy to move all these,
easy
clandestinely
work,
from one place to the other.
One under each arm.
No problem.
No problem.
Yeah, easy, right?
Yeah, easy work.
This guy's never rolled a barrel, eh?
Hey, he doesn't know what that feels like.
You don't have to carry it when you can just roll the barrel. It's round.
That's right, my friend.
So you have one of these FPAC inventory operatives. His name is Michel Gavreau, and he was taking his inventory of one of the warehouses outside. This is not the main warehouse, but another warehouse that had been rented and was operated outside of that one.
So it's a little, it's not as high class as the main one. So it's not a U-Haul. It's probably
it probably doesn't even have a fence.
It might
probably a budget.
Yeah.
No, dude, it might even be a better quality warehouse. It might have 2 locks. A gate or a gate
2
and a lock,
padlocks?
maybe.
Oh, fuck. Impenetrable.
You probably have to
lucky.
scan your fucking membership at the door to let the gate in.
So normally, from what I understand, is that it was kind of common procedure for these inventory workers or inventory counters to climb on top of the barrels and then to take an accurate count of how much the barrels were inside the things. And as Michel was climbing one of these towers of things, these barrels are stacked about 4 to 6 barrels high. He climbed up to the top and he put both hands on top of a barrel, thinking this 600-pound barrel would not shift under his weight. Unfortunately, that barrel did shift. He did fall, thinking he was going to be crushed under this 600 pounds of sugary, delicious maple syrup.
He's like, this is how I've always wanted to die.
I knew it would end this way.
Why, there's a empty barrel at the top of a warehouse. Is what you're saying?
So this empty barrel fell down, and Michel kind of, was wondering why this barrel fell down. He tapped on it, figured out that it was empty.
Well, it could be just a stocking error.
And that was the original assumption, that this was perhaps just an error. Something had happened, and it was just an inventory error. So it's not anything to get worked up for.
Shit just screams lazy to me, because we all know growing up, you want to sneak a little bit of your parents' vodka, you toss a little water in there, you're fucking bingo bango bongo.
Or
man.
I just threw the bottle away and they never know. They had so many
smart.
Yeah, they weren't hard drinkers.
My mom started putting it in the freezer.
Checking it.
Busted, but yeah. Well, you put it in the freezer and it freezes, you're fucked.
You're fucked.
During, further on into the fall of 2012, they took a couple more inventories of a few other warehouses and found out that there were actually a number of other barrels that had been emptied. Also, in addition to that, a couple of barrels had been, they had found out, or they had observed, that there was rust forming on some of the barrels in the warehouse.
Which is interesting, because the reason there's rust on these barrels is they concluded it has to be filled with water, because maple syrup doesn't sweat.
Syrup don't sweat.
Syrup don't sweat, baby. Don't sweat the cold.
It's like 62% sugar.
So what do you mean? It's like a dog at pants, or what?
Yeah. But so what's happening is these barrels are filled with water, and they're sweating, like the condensation gets to the outside and rusts the bottom rim of the barrel and where they're sitting.
Interesting.
It's kind of ingenious how they start to look, and they're like, wait a minute. Hey, look at all these rust spots. Secondly, they had specialty forklifts specifically designed to carry these barrels.
Like soft grip
that
forks?
leaves no marks on it. Kind of clasps on the top and the bottom, picks them up like this, like two little hooks. Now they start to notice that a lot of these barrels are dented, scraped, right? They're not the same.
Well, the problem here is these guys obviously didn't get their fucking PhD in syrupology, or, you know what I mean? It's pretty fucking obvious. You need that if you're going to be running a syrup fucking fortress.
I don't think they had their forklift driver's test.
Maybe a combo of both.
Yeah. Hosers.
Fucking hosers for sure.
Fucking hosers.
So after the inventories were done, and then they took stock of how many barrels seemed to have been stolen, they came up with the number of 10,000 barrels short. Wow. 10,000 barrels missing.
Now, how much is that worth roughly?
So that would probably be about
Millions.
540,000 gallons of syrup that had been stolen. And that comes to about 12.5% of the reserve at the time. And the street value of that much would be about $13.4 million US.
That's a big fucking heist.
Jesus,
that's the big dirty.
That's a
that's big
dirty.
time, man.
TPB would be proud of that.
Hell yeah, boys.
That's the dirty. Not stealing toonies.
$13
And that's
million
American dollars. That's not monopoly money. That's fucking American.
Yeah, are we talking
money.
American dollars here?
Yeah, that's big time.
I believe American
dollars.
And then it was like closer, was like 18 million something in Canadian.
Yeah,
that's about 4 billion in Canadian, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like when you start to read this, you're like, maple syrup? What? $13 million? You're like, and it was just in some fucking U-Haul storage units?
I have so many questions.
Well, that's only
barrels?
only 12.5% of the total reserve.
Now, instantly, you start to realize that this isn't just fucking, me sneaking to the fucking grocery store and taking a couple fucking M&Ms from the bulk bin, slamming them back. This has to be an organized.
We got to have multiple accomplices to start moving that much crude syrup out of warehouse.
Yeah.
So what we're saying here is they've emptied and refilled some with water, and some they got sloppy and they forgot them. They left them empty. And that's pretty much how this plan has started to be foiled.
Right. So now you have one of the beginning of one of the, I believe it's one of the largest police investigations
Damn right.
in Canadian history.
If not the largest.
You had not only the Quebecois police, but you had the Royal Mounties, and you even had the U.S. Customs, an international team of investigators to find the culprits behind the Great Maple Syrup
Oh, so
heist.
they must have been trying to ship across border if you're bringing in the feds down south.
So yeah, there was definitely that suspicion because one of the most, I guess, appealing things about stealing maple syrup is that syrup is like crude oil, similar to crude oil, is that it is a type of commodity.
You can eat it.
Yes, that's better. Well, that makes it better than crude oil. One thing that also makes it similar is that once it leaves the warehouse, once it leaves its point of production, you can sell it anywhere and it's gone. It doesn't have a label on it. It doesn't have anything on it. You know, once you eat it, it's gone. Once you ship it somewhere, there's nothing that says that this maple syrup was created here or
It's
this
hard,
whatever.
Yeah, you're hard to backtrack.
There's no fucking DNA evidence when you're talking about syrup here.
So once you got syrups, say whoever bought the rogue crude syrup could just bottle it and sell it or make toffee or whatever they do with it, and boom, it's gone.
Right.
That's
you
what
could
the
have
black market's for.
buyers that could have bought this, this fenced or black market maple syrup, and a lot of them wouldn't even have known where it came from.
Right.
They can just say that we got it from here, and here, take it.
They would have had to know something's up. Some guy's like, hey, you want to buy 10,000 barrels of crude syrup? Huh?
Good price.
Number one good price for you. I cut you a good deal.
Yeah, I mean the story progresses, but I think we all need a little refill on the beer. So we'll
Maple syrup.
Take a quick
Refill your syrup bottles.
quick syrup shot. We'll be right back. Continue with the Great Canadian Maple Syrup Heist.
That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.
Yeah, well, yeah, I fucking bet, bud. Listen here. If we were in fucking studio, we'd be having a good old-fashioned Donnybrook, bud.
Hey, listen, bud. I'll fucking twist it off right now.
You don't want none of this, bud.
Fucking
You don't-
call it.
you-
I'll twist it off right now.
Fucking buddy.
There's one way we can settle this.
Well, you don't even fucking say that unless you're ready to fucking bring it.
calling me out?
You want to fuck? Oh, fuck you, bud. Fuck you then, pal.
you.
You want to go?
You want to
ready to-
fucking
oh,
go,
you
bud?
lids
Let's
off,
settle this.
eh?
There's only
Gone.
one way.
Let's fucking do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this and not on the live stream, we have a good old-fashioned Canadian maple syrup chug-off.
Boys, that's a tiny bottle you just slammed there. I'll show you how to put the biscuit top cheddar. Here we go.
Guy's a maniac, eh? Look at him. Holy fuck. Guy's officially a diabetic now. Look at that shit. Holy
I was just gonna
shit.
say I caught the diabetes. Holy.
You got the beatus. That guy's got a case of beatus hard.
That's 1 liter of sugar down the hatch.
Bravo, pal.
It's too much
Stranger.
for the diabetes.
There gets to a point when you ingest so much sugar that you beat diabetes.
Yeah, just eat more sugar. Don't do that. If
Do
you have
not
diabetes,
do that.
don't do that.
Do not follow that advice at home. That takes severe practice, a lot of practice to beat diabetes with sugar.
Everybody knows Canadians are immune to that kind of shit, or
Of
else
course.
we'd be like the Americans.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's true. Diabetes is illegal. It is a serious disease, and we have a problem with it in the United States. I have no problem admitting that.
Hey, it took out our boy Brimley, man. Rest in peace.
They held
RP. Anyways. Okay, great Canadian dust off there with the maple syrup chug.
I don't feel great. I'm not gonna lie. I don't feel good.
You might have a maple syrup.
Yeah.
Andrew might slip into a sugar coma in a second here.
We all might. If you're watching a live stream, might be some projectile vomit on the webcams.
So now you have 10,000 barrels of maple syrup stolen from a warehouse in
I don't think
Quebec.
they used real syrup in Super Troopers.
No.
I think it was fake syrup.
Ooh. That hurts.
Whew. All right. Continue.
What were we talking about?
Well, we were talking about the investigation of the Great Maple Syrup Heist.
Right.
So where do you start when you have, 10,000 barrels of syrup stolen? The combined investigative force started with interviewing about 300 people, and they executed about 40 search warrants trying to find
40
the syrup.
people. You really paused that for dramatic flair. And they executed 40 search warrants.
I thought it would make it more exciting.
It was almost that severe though that we almost reversed our death penalty.
Yeah. I figured this would be the one. If there was something that Canadians would change their policy on the death penalty, it would be this.
I feel like it's pretty obvious who's fucking doing it.
Who's that?
You know it's fucking Snidely Whiplash, that fucking prick.
That little fuck.
You know it is. Dudley Do-Right's been giving that guy the fucking 1-2 for a long time, but he's still fucking around.
The investigators got a kind of good idea about how these barrels were stolen. Braden mentioned before that
they went in there like someone stole them.
They got a pretty good idea about how they stole these barrels when they noticed that some of the barrels that had been placed in the warehouses were dented in certain areas. Like certain specific, like a consistent markings on some of these barrels, which kind of indicated that they had used a certain type of forklift that the warehouses, the FPAC, are not normally known to use. They use a special type of forklift in all of their warehouses in order to avoid denting or even scratching a lot of the barrels that they store there at their warehouses.
It's fucking amateur hour here, boys. Come on now. Easy to fucking snuff that shit out.
So now the police went around and with this lead, they used this to take them to all of the forklift rental businesses in the area, asking about, looking for people who had worked at these warehouses or names of people who were associated with these warehouses. And they found that at least one to two people had actually used their actual names to rent out these forklifts.
They would rent out forklifts for the fucking heist.
Well, you had to get
amateurs.
the forklifts to be able to put them on the truck.
That's some fucking Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah, but you
shit.
think with their limited security, they could somehow get the keys to the regular forklift and use it.
So, according to the prosecutors who worked on the case, they figured that the gang would take this gang of people, because it had to be more than one person, would take these barrels out of the reserve to what is called traditionally a sugar shack, so a place where they produced maple syrup, and they would use just siphons, like gravity siphons, so much like slow siphon, like how you would siphon gasoline out of the tank of a car.
You suck the tube until you taste that sweet, sweet nectar. Then you put it into another barrel.
Yeah, just
Away you go.
let gravity do its job. Boom, done.
If you look into this, you have a lot of people who kind of came in on this. They were probably not the original planners of this. We'll get to the people who were probably the head honchos of the operation. But you had people who came into this a little bit later who necessarily didn't know the entire plan, but they knew something was kind of off. And then they were approached by these people who were kind of in charge and saying, hey, how about like $1,000 if you just maybe you want to help us out a bit?
A little hush money here.
A little bit of hush money. money changed hands, hush money, all this stuff was going on. And so they bring in these accomplices. They siphon off these barrels from the reserve. They said that the water, police suspected that the water that they used to fill some of these barrels was actually just creek water, that they had filled
Just
it from a creek near the
straight out.
yeah. And so now the people who were moving this, not necessarily all of them, when they were questioned and identified, and then they're like, we know that you moved that syrup. A lot of them who were arrested claimed that they didn't know that the syrup was stolen, that they were asked to come in and move the syrup and they didn't know that it was stolen. They just said, hey, we need you to move this syrup from here to here. And they did it.
Yeah, they were independent contractors. Hey, we need a shipment. We got a shipment of barrels going down to the States. Do you want the job? It's going to be $1,250. Sure, why not?
No questions.
Right? Like, I don't doubt that outside of like the siphoning of the barrels, as soon as you get into like moving the barrels after they've been siphoned and stuff, and you're selling them on the black market, I have no doubt that a lot of the people involved just had no idea. Just were like,
I mean, listen though, like it depends on who's asking you to do something like this. You know what I mean? If you got fucking some shady Tony Montana motherfucker walking up and being like, hey, pal, I got a job for you real quick.
It's a little different, though, if he's like, hey, pal, I need you to move $13 million worth of cocaine. And he's like, hey, man, I've got fucking 18 barrels of maple syrup that's got to go to the States. I don't know if I'd ask the same questions.
Yeah, if you're a shady motherfucker, you're going to know. You're going to be like, I don't know about this guy. Why am I showing up at fucking 2 a.m. to move this syrup out of this fucking shop?
You're going to know, but you're not going to ask any questions because you need that dough.
Yeah. Hey, listen, boys, got a quick fucking job. Show up 2:30 a.m. Wear all black. Maybe fucking balaclavas here. No big deal. Dress code. Show up. Grab some of this fucking syrup and fuck off.
When you get to the gate, turn your lights off. Drive down.
It's just maple syrup. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's not a big deal, pal.
So from the beginning, the investigators had pretty much two prime suspects that they had at the top of their list. They had one, Avik Caron, who owned the warehouse, operated the warehouse where that syrup that was stolen was being stored. And then you also had Richard Valliers, who was a known, we already mentioned the term before. He was a known barrel roller. He was a person, he was known that he was kind of known within circles to be the person that if you wanted to sell your stolen syrup or you wanted to sell your above quota syrup, he was the person that you wanted to contact.
What a title to have.
He was the barrel roller.
Buddy, that's the fucking Tony Montana of fucking maple syrup here, boys.
Yeah.
Guy makes shit happen. He's a mover and shaker.
Now, Avik Caron was actually he popped up on their radar pretty soon after they discovered what had happened and the full extent of the crime, because Avik Caron actually had a history of a criminal background of fraud, which I think he had been alleged and accused of, but he never got convicted. They didn't have enough evidence to kind of pin it on him. So he kind of but he had that history behind him. And then Richard Valliers was known for this. So they interviewed a couple of the people from from the FPAC, the people who were mainly affected by this. They know these names. One of the funny things that I found while researching is that even though there's like 13,000 producers of maple syrup in Quebec, they all kind of know each other. It's actually like a relatively small community, so they almost all know each other by name.
Yeah, because they're all part of the fucking mafia.
Well, yeah. And they all know each other, but also the name Richard Valliers is well known to them. They're like, at least one of the people who is high up in the FPAC, they interviewed him, and a news reporter asked him, specifically like, what was your reaction when they told you that it might be Valliere? And he's like, again? Yeah, of course it's him.
Guy's infamous, man.
Yeah. So, to kind of put it in perspective, again, Braden's, everybody's kind of saying that this happened like maybe like in one night. You have all these dudes in like ski masks coming in here, rolling these barrels out into a line of trucks to go off. This happened for about a year. They did this for a year, just like small bits and pieces here and there, and moving this syrup out of the warehouse.
But still,
kind of like when the fucking bad guys invade Nakatomi Tower. You know what I mean?
But
like,
here's the thing:
pros.
are they bad guys or are they the Robin Hoods of the story, giving the syrup back to the people?
I don't know.
You're robbing the mafia.
Stealing from the Federation and giving syrup back to the people.
But hey,
Yeah, but what price are they selling it for here?
that's true.
Cutting them a good deal or what?
Market price.
Black market value. But hey, we're saying that it took like a year, was like a year and a half was the full heist, but still that's 10,000 barrels of oil. Crude syrup.
Of crude syrup.
Crude syrup. 10,000 barrels. So that's like, what's that? Like a year, like you're doing like a lot of barrels a night to make that
That's
quota.
$40 billion in Canadian, actually.
A lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
To pay off the national debt.
Fuck yeah.
And so they estimate that they probably actually recovered about 2/3 of that which they had lost. And a lot of it they recovered from one New Brunswick based syrup reseller, Etienne St. Pierre, when they raided his storage facility where he was keeping his most of his syrup from that season.
Fucking George's cousin.
Oh, so I'm sure he pleaded innocent.
And he did. When they asked him like where he had gotten all this syrup, he said some of it's mine. Some of it's like, I may have bought it from Valier and all them, but I didn't know it was stolen. Yeah. I think he maintains his story to this day that I didn't know that any of this was stolen. It was syrup. Like I simply resell it. Like I buy it and I resell it. I don't care where it comes from because that's not my job.
He's a fence. He's like, I'm a fence, motherfucker.
Well, he's a reseller.
Care.
It's a legitimate job. Like it's or whatever. It's a legitimate profession. You buy things and then you sell them. Like that's what you do. I don't care where it comes from. That's not my thing.
Got a good price and fucking moved it, boys.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Can't blame the guy.
If some of these men were brought to justice, or what you can consider justice, I guess. Avic Caron was sentenced to 5 years in prison. He also got a $1.2 million Canadian fine. And also Valier's was pretty much considered the ringleader. He was sentenced in 2017 to 8 years in prison, plus a $9.4 million Canadian dollar fine.
That's pretty much that's an equivalent of a life sentence in Canada. That takes a lot to get that.
Hey, listen, I know murderers who didn't get as long.
Yeah. Fuck, right?
Right? People who have killed people who didn't get as long as these motherfuckers who stole some syrup.
Yeah. They get dropped down to manslaughter. They get 5 years and then probation.
It's a fucking... It's not even a food. It's a condiment.
It's a fucking liquid
It's a fucking
sugar.
condiment.
It's the lifeblood of our country.
This guy got fucking up to 14 years for stealing a condiment that you really...
You say that now until you fucking have a nice fresh pair of Eggos pop in your toaster and don't have any fucking maple syrup to douse those things in.
Then you'll kill
change
somebody.
your tune. Then you'll fucking change your tune, man.
Then you'll be on the murder path.
Fuck yeah.
It's fucking crazy. What a case.
Yeah. The funny thing is that probably most Canadians, I would say you guys, did you guys know about the FPAC before this? Were you aware of it?
I didn't even know I had maple syrup in my fridge. It's been there for about 4 years.
I knew that maple syrup was like made in most of it. I knew most of the world's like supply was made in Quebec, but I didn't know there was like a syrup mafia, and they call them the Saudis of syrup. So I think I've seen them as being referred to, Quebec mafia, the FPAC, the Saudis of syrup.
Yeah.
But it's like when I was reading this and you start to see what they're doing, and like there's a lot of money to be made around the world selling syrup, and they control the price. And I'm like, something so trivial as fucking maple syrup, and no one would have ever been this aware of what they're doing had not $13 million been stolen. and it made national headlines and said, I don't think anyone would know that this is the practice that they do. And I'm like, if they're doing shit like this with stuff that's so trivial, like fucking syrup, they're doing it with there's fucking big everything. You know what I'm saying?
There's big everything, man. We've covered a lot of them. This is just the newest addition to the big everything club.
Yeah. Big syrup, yeah.
Big
This
syrup.
is Canadian big syrup.
No, like when we started this, I knew that a lot of syrup was produced in Quebec, and I did not know about like, you could call this like a socialist ideal if it wasn't done, if everyone agreed to it, but it seems to be forced on the people, right? It just it seems if it was like everyone voted to do this and like for like put it into like a common fund to like make sure wages were the same every year, that's like a socialist type of government. But this was like forced upon people.
It's so fucking wild in Quebec in the syrup industry that like opposition syrup leaders who are against the fucking FPAC. The FPAC will hire like private investigators and PIs to fucking surveil them and like stalk them and like just
dig up
overall
dirt.
just like dig up dirt on these people who are just opposed to the current system. And then there's the I'm gonna call the radical left syrupers who are fucking like firebombing the fucking FPACs, like the president's house and his maple syrup fucking what he's doing. Like it's mind blowing the shit that's going on in the syrup industry.
Who would have
Fight
thought?
back.
Who would have fucking thought?
Everybody's hands are dirty. If you're chugging syrup like us three, your hands are dirty. There's blood on your hands.
Yeah, I'll take a little blame.
Unless you're consuming free market Vermont maple syrup. So
That's everyone knows that's inferior product.
piss water
Yeah,
is
it's
what you're
inferior
saying. Yeah.
product.
capitalism.
spit on this.
Number one.
You know what the one thing the Quebec, the syrup mafia doesn't want you to know is most of the maple trees are south of the border.
This is true.
There's just not a for whatever reason, the market never took hold. There's way more maple trees that could produce way more syrup if people started doing it south of the border.
Yeah, there's a lot of I know I've definitely seen the claims of at least a couple of Vermont producers of maple syrup, and they believe that if they wanted to, they would be able to outproduce Quebec.
For sure.
That's because you know what they're doing, because they're cutting their fucking syrup with high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah.
Watering down
It's
the
not
price.
their syrup's not
They
pure.
have very stringent standards. They do. There are actual they do have actual standards for maple syrup. You cannot be labeled maple syrup if
That's
you
not
can
true.
only have a certain
That's
amount
not
of
true,
sugar.
Dan.
What is it?
I know that's not true because if you go to the store in Canada, there's different grades of maple
Right.
syrup.
Yeah.
Well, there's different grades.
Like this right here?
There's light.
Fucking
There's light amber, there's like dark amber, and there's dark. There's a whole bunch of different styles of maple syrup.
See that? 100p right there. 100%.
category A, baby.
100%
Category A.
Pure.
Grade A dark.
Say no Aunt Jemima's, Dan.
Dude, I just slammed
This is the purest as it gets, pal.
1 liter of grade A amber.
Fuck yeah, boys.
Oh, I felt it was delicious. What was I saying? Oh,
So yeah, the Vermont, that's one of the complaints that that the 100 or so syrup rebels have against the FPAC is that
Against the Federation.
against the Federation is that they're unable to price their stuff at a competitive price and unable to move as much as they would be able to, and are being undercut by the US producers because the US producers can set their prices at whatever they want. They're not beholden to a federation about setting their price, controlling their prices and who they sell to.
right. Now, I bet you a lot of people in the States too, probably because they get their maple syrup from Vermont, probably don't even have no idea that Quebec was a huge manufacturer. I know there was even people in the chat I was reading, like, I always thought maple syrup was just from Vermont. Like, well, it makes sense if you're living around the area. I mean, it's probably, they still produce a lot. It's just not anything compared to global sale.
Yeah, but I think that the US is the primary consumer of maple syrup from Canada. I think,
Yeah.
well, at least like 60% or something, a majority
It has to be. Just the population would just make sense to ship it down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that I found interesting was that one of the reasoning that the FPAC kind of makes it for people in Quebec joining the Federation is that they actually have like a global marketing not scheme, like a global marketing plan that they've been pushing to open other markets for maple syrup besides just the United States. Like they've been trying to grow the market, and in most places they've been successful. In places like Germany and Japan, where growth has grown like over 12% over the last 4 or 5 years, like they're trying to push maple syrup into into the culinary forefront of these places, to pose it as a healthier alternative to sugar as a sweetener.
The high fructose corn syrup for sure.
Right, as like a high culinary delicacy. Well, whether it's producing candy or it's like an accent or using it as an ingredient in some high end dishes and things like that.
The problem with that is, though, the problem with the Federation, though, Dan, is that like all these profits are lacing the pockets of these fucking fat, corporate fucking
Fat
big
cats.
syrup fat cats, right?
Yep.
Whereas the fucking Jacques Cousteau or whatever, who owns his little farmland that's been handed down through generations, he's not getting any of the profits, right? He's getting the price set by the Federation, good or bad, right? Whether he could make more on the free market or less, he doesn't get. So years where he could make a killing, he's not making. He makes the flat rate. But
that
meanwhile,
brings me to my point, being that they are benefiting, whether they think it or not, they are benefiting from that marketing. They get to benefit from that market. Is it, can you consider it, that they're benefiting from that marketing? Those people in Quebec who are producing maple syrup are benefiting from that marketing, from those markets opening up. They have a broader audience. They have a broader consumer spectrum which to sell from. But they shouldn't belong to the Federation. The Federation's doing all the work. I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but
you part of Big Syrup, Dan,
to benefit from that and then not have to do anything or contribute anything to the Federation.
it seems weird that it's not even like it's a provincial organization. It's an organization that formed itself by some maple syrup producers who formed this federation. Now can say to everyone in the province of Quebec, the syrup that you make on your land isn't yours. It belongs to the federation.
Well, it's yours until you sell it. Then you have to sell it.
Well, sell it in bulk.
Yeah, if you
You
sell
can
it in
directly
bulk,
sell it. You can directly just sell it to anybody that you want. But bulk sales have to go through the Federation. That's the stipulation.
Bulk sales is where you make money.
yeah.
Right.
And the federation is saying, we're going to make the money and we will give you a portion of money that we make because we're going to control the market. We're going to manipulate the market so that we're always getting a high value.
Well, that's what I was talking about, is if this was done as for the good of the people and everyone got together and they made the decision all together to do it, then it's like a socialist kind of thing, and it's for the good of everyone who's part of it. But this seemed like it was done by it probably started with the biggest manufacturers. This is what we're going to do so we can fix the price. So in bad years, we can sell for higher. In good years, we can sell for the same.
We can still line our pockets.
Yeah. And then they force the little guys out. Or we can
still sell our syrup in bad years and not have people being like, oh, it's going to be really expensive this year, so we just won't buy it.
Well, yes. But I'm saying this was done, it seems to be not so much for the good of the people, except for the good of a select few.
Yeah.
That's how it seems to me. It doesn't seem like everyone was in agreement at the start. It kind of seems like it was taken over by the big guys, and everyone's like, well, you can't beat them, join them.
Upon a lot of producers.
Yeah, you can't beat them, join them.
We didn't even touch on the best fucking part of this whole story.
What's that?
How they busted these fucking pricks with their code names and all that.
Oh, yeah. Let's get to it.
So with the one of the pieces of evidence that they found was the text messages sent between some of the conspirators in the involved in the Heist. these cell phones had been they found that these cell phones were burner cell phones that had been registered to fake names of Star Wars characters. And in the address, I believe it was 123 Dark Side.
Awesome.
Phenomenal.
Genius,
Fantastic.
genius,
Criminal
genius.
masterminds.
Well, we did get a few Canadian fucking legends to step in and crack this case that we didn't even talk about. Guys go down in infamy.
What are you talking about?
Lay's Gyms.
Lay's
Yeah,
Gyms.
Lay's Gyms.
Lay's Gyms. Yeah, we know about Lay's Gyms. Guys are fucking Canadian legends.
Important part of the story.
Right up there with fucking Ron Pond.
I hear you.
Yeah, they're his French counterpart.
Yeah, exactly.
Lay's Gyms.
Bonjour, Jim. We have emergency.
Emergency. What is going on, Les Gym?
Les Gym. The barrel rollers have struck again.
Tabernacle, Les Gym, not the barrel rollers.
We the barrel rollers.
Do we have any suspects?
We, Jim, we have the suspects. We have one of the barrel rollers. His name is Luke Skywalker.
Luke Skywalker is a barrel roller?
We, Luke Skywalker is a barrel roller, but that is not all. His father is also a barrel roller.
You mean to tell me Luke Skywalker is a barrel roller and his father is also a barrel roller?
We, Jim, Tabernacle. Luke Skywalker is a barrel roller, and so is his father, Darth Vader.
Darth Vader is a barrel roller? Les Miserables! Les Gym! How much money did they make away with? $1?
No, Jim.
$2?
No, Jim.
$3?
Jim, so much of the money, you're going to need une calculatrice.
Was that Tabernacle? I thought I heard Steve there for a second. Tabernacle.
Jim, who is the Steve you speak of?
Tabernacle. I cannot believe all these barrel rollers is going away with our syrup.
The barrel rollers are done it again.
Okay, thank you. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
And that's how the gyms.
That's how the phone call went between the Quebec police and RCMP.
Solved.
Accurate depiction.
A lot of barrel rollers.
100% sure.
And that was it.
Barrel rollers.
Barrel roller.
A crease. I can't believe it. I cannot believe.
Tabernacle.
Yeah. It is this,
Stupid.
this is one of the it's probably one of the most bizarre things that I've ever heard of, like that has happened. That is that the fact that somebody would spend the time and the effort to steal maple syrup, but it does show, the manipulation of a certain commodity. That if you have the singular control of a certain commodity, what you can do with it. So, the crazy thing, like you guys said before, is that you didn't really know about this FPAC, that this thing does exist, that it is something that is really.
There's a maple syrup mafia.
Yeah.
A maple
100%.
syrup cartel. Yeah. We do know of other cartels, and we probably should talk about another case file.
They're firebombing people's maple syrup production in Quebec. Firebombing it. It's a mafia. It's a fucking Wild West. The cartel exists.
So you do have that, but it's like it goes to show what happens when one singular group takes control of a certain commodity. And I would say like this almost puts it on par with diamonds and the De Beer cartel.
We
should talk about those at some point.
It's the exact same. They're controlling the price. It's overinflated because fat cats are making the profits, and these fat cats are making the profits on the backs of the producers.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good reference of De Beers, because for years and years, like De Beers had 95% of the market. I think it's kind of loosened up a little bit lately, but for forever, that's where
just in case if you didn't know, diamonds are worthless.
Diamond is one of the most. It's a very.
They're worthless.
You can't even eat them.
It's very abundant.
You can't put them on your fucking pancakes. You can't do nothing with them.
And well, it's the same thing. Same thing with maple syrup. If you didn't have this, or too many people. Too many people started making maple syrup. We're gonna have problems.
Diamonds are bullshit. Diamonds are forever because you can't eat them. Can't do nothing with them.
True.
They're stupid.
They lose value.
They don't go with
pancakes. As soon as you buy it, it loses its value.
Yeah, there's nothing to it. Looks
The
shiny.
the gold on the ring is worth more than that diamond if you had to resell it.
This is true. You're
So,
being
if
sold
we ever-
marketing.
we'll probably
The
have to do
greatest
a case file on
marketing.
the De Beers Diamond Cartel.
Yeah.
I think that would be real fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it is extremely bizarre, but it's almost like it's just so weird because this crime is like, you're like,
It's stupid.
who cares?
Yeah. You're
It's
like,
maple syrup. It's
someone
almost
stole
something-
my syrup. You're like, fucking cry about it. And you're like, it was worth $13 million. You're like,
Suck a la bleu.
You're like, oh.
Now that I think about it, like the weird thing is like while I was researching this, now that I remember, is that agricultural crimes are actually on the rise, or you have people actually going out and stealing people's crops of things like what's this, nut crimes are on the rise. People stealing things like
Honeybees
pecans and walnuts.
People will drive trucks to honeybee farms and spray the back of their trucks so that all the bees come into the back of the truck, and they'll seal the truck and then drive it to their fucking bee farm. Like, the shit people are doing right now is wild. Like, agricultural crimes are wild because when people say, hey, that guy stole my bees, no one gives a shit.
No one gives a fuck.
You had the one, I think it was the one
Genius.
story either last year or the year before. I can't remember. They had the one family, like their vineyard had produced, like they had their entire years worth of crop, like their vineyard had produced, stolen.
Like their
Entire
all
thing.
their grapes.
All their grapes were stolen in one night.
Like they just brought like
Absolutely devastated.
semi truck full of people, and they just jumped out and picked them all.
Just a couple trucks. I think somebody said like they had seen the headlights, like they'd seen the headlights from the highway, and they just saw like a trail of headlights. They didn't think anything of it. And then but they had their grapes kind of gathered up together, and they kind of left them on their property. People came in, whoop, took them
Gone.
off.
Grapes are gone.
Gone.
Fuckers.
Like I think it was back when California had they were having a pretty rough season. I think it was a pretty rough growing season, and then that stuff just happens. Like it's
like-
crazy.
Like, you call it like, someone stole my grapes. And you're like, okay, well, like, what the fuck you want us to do?
Yeah,
Sorry,
I'm not.
pal,
Yeah, I'm
sour
not
grapes,
100%
bud.
sure on the
That sucks.
like insurance
Sour
policies
grapes.
on grapes and things like that. I'm sure there is some, but man, like that is just absolutely devastating to some of those people.
No kidding. You spend all year growing it. Like there's a lot of man hours and like effort to grow that stuff. And if someone just swiped it, if no one's gonna give a fuck, the public's not gonna really care. And then
The fact that there's criminal organizations who only deal in agriculture is wild to me. Like, not drugs. We're not talking drugs. We're talking about produce. And that's all they focus on, because it's such a fucking, to me, an ingenious criminal act because no one cares at the same time. You know what I mean?
I remember there is a theory, or some people like kind of accused that the FPAC saying that when this crime was perpetrated, that perhaps the FPAC the Federation had a hand in it, or at least they had probably had some sort of feigned ignorance of this crime because they were angling for an insurance payout. Because they because they had such a good season, that warehouse where they had stored a thing was actually an extra warehouse. Like they had such a large overflow of product that they perhaps would have profited more from the insurance payout than actually waiting to sell that excess maple syrup.
Yeah, but
from
even
their
this,
reserve.
even if some top of, let's get hypothetical here. Let's say some top of the fucking maple syrup cartel, right? They were like, hey, gave these guys fucking Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker and the rest of the battle royals access, and they're like, hey, we want you to take this, we want you to start siphoning this, right, and help them out. And they imagine they got a handful of the profit on the black market, and they get a bit of an insurance payout. You're triple dipping. You're triple
Booyah.
dipping,
genius.
and it's maple syrup, so no one fucking cares.
It's too bad you just hired bad criminals.
It's maple syrup. Yes.
It's a perfect crime,
It's
man.
so nuts.
It's
so
like,
it's so,
honestly,
to me, it's like borderline victimless crime. You know, you're
Yeah.
just like, what, maple syrup? Like that's so weird, and just it's
who gives
maple
a shit?
syrup. I personally, to me, I get if it was somebody who ate like maple syrup all the time, maybe
I
yes,
gotta-
I would be
I gotta
angry
pee
about
so bad.
this. I would call for heads to roll. You know, I'd get out my guillotine or whatever. But for me, who never really eats maple syrup, I'm just kind of like, what? Really?
Dude, think about how if they would have just been better at the crime, how long they could have got away with it for.
Right. It's so dumb. Like
Maybe
it's like,
tossed in a little fucking iced tea mix in that water, stirred her up, made it a little thicker, brown.
Just think about this. Instead of emptying the barrels completely and fill them with water, why not just take a couple liters out of each?
half and half.
Just a couple liters, just a little swig, button them back up. Get a forklift that doesn't fucking dent the barrels. Don't leave them empty.
Greedy, Zell. They didn't want to play the slow game. They wanted it all fucking
had to
now.
get the stuff all out, man. Had to go.
If you want to do version 2 of this heist, that's what you got to do.
Let's do it. Let's fucking do it.
Because there's no way they have that much better security now. You might have to bribe one security guard.
Next podcast, ATT from Canadian prison after the great Canadian maple syrup heist 2.
Part 2.
Part 2.
Part 2.
ATT Big Dirty coming up.
Fuck yeah.
Not going to need any more podcasting. We're just going to, we won't pick maple syrup. We'll pick a different crop. I'm not sure what. What else could?
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyways,
I don't know. Stealing bees sounds pretty fun. I don't know. Stealing bees.
Dan, it hasn't happened. There's no great American maple syrup heist. Maybe we can get one going down south.
You son of a bitch, I'm in.
What a fucking wild case, though. Just ridiculous.
It's so crazy. Yeah, we thought we'd do something light for Christmas. So we thought it'd be fine. Holidays.
Everyone does Krampus or Santa Claus, all the classics where you know what?
Yeah, we did Santa Claus. We did Santa Claus weird stuff last year.
We haven't done the Belschnickel yet.
Next year.
Next year.
But here's the thing: when you're sitting down and enjoying your breakfast on Christmas morning, if you have pancakes with maple syrup, maybe I think that could be black market.
That's blood syrup right there.
Blood syrup right there that you're drinking. So
black market maple syrup. You need a little more excitement in your breakfast meal. Just imagine that's black market maple syrup.
That could be blood syrup you're chugging.
Yep.
All right. Well, final thoughts. I think we've pretty much covered that one pretty good.
Yeah, we gave our final thoughts, I think, just as we pretty much went.
I'm avoiding final thoughts for the rest of the fucking podcast.
That's it.
That's fucking done.
No more theories for Andrew. He's done.
Nothing. Toast.
Let's get into a little bit of space news. Well, first up on space news, I cannot fucking wait. If you're listening to this live, or if you're listening to this on Christmas Day, I cannot fucking wait for the 21st to the 24th to be over, because I'm so fucking sick and tired of hearing about how the Gregorian calendar was wrong and 2012 was actually 2020, and that the world's going to end December 21st to the 24th. There's going to be a bigger crisis coming back. Crisis coming back for revenge, baby. He's coming back.
It's the 21st as we're recording this, so it should be starting right around now.
Yeah. The second coming of Christ. It's
10 minutes for me. 10 minutes for me, right? So
yeah.
I'm ahead of you guys. I'll tell you guys in the next 10 minutes or so.
Dan's still alive in 10 minutes. We're good.
It's the 21st to the 25th. It's supposed to be like this mass awakening and the second coming of Christ. And because the Gregorian calendar mixed up all these days, so the Mayan 2012 calendar is actually 2020. This is just the latest in a long stream of fucking end of the world. And you know what the great thing about this is if you're listening to this, I was right and all these people are wrong, or we're all dead and there's no way you can listen to this.
It's over.
Haha, got you. Win-win for us.
I can't be wrong. It's perfect. So let's see that. Also, it's the 21st. So if you're listening to this and you got out on the 21st and you saw the Bethlehem star, the Christmas star, Jupiter and Saturn in alignment, and you got some photos, send them in, because honestly, it's a cloudy night here on Vancouver Island. I didn't get to see it, so I'd love to see some of your pictures.
Same. It is dumping snow here right now, and I'm not going to get to see it, but this is the closest Jupiter and Saturn will be in the horizon. Well, it's the closest they've been in 800 years. So it's probably an 800-year cycle, I'm guessing. So it'll be 800 more years till you see them. They're going to look like one star without a telescope or binoculars. So
yeah, it's going to look like a real bright star in the sky. So get out there, take a peek. And if you did take a peek, send a picture into us, because we were not fortunate enough to see it.
Nope.
What else do we have for space news? We had the Chinese probe just brought back the first new sample of the moon in decades.
You believe this, Braden?
No, I don't.
So the robot was fake as well?
No, I believe they went to the moon with robotics. Yes.
Okay.
I 100%.
So is that sweet moon cheese?
Moon cheese. Yeah, return of the Chang'e 5 rover space probe landed in the Mongolia crater, and I guess it brought back. Well, how much stuff did it bring back? It brought back. I thought I wrote it down here. 4.5 pounds of material. That's a sizable amount. So I guess this is from a different part of the moon than the Apollo missions, I believe. So we'll see if the samples match or.
I bet they're going to find a whole bunch of stuff. How much stuff from the moon do we actually have to study? I mean, you have the couple of Apollo missions, but I'm sure scientists are eager to get their hands on whatever they can from the moon.
For sure. Yeah.
Especially different parts. There's only so much one area can tell you about the moon. There's only so much. And it's imagine the difference between, whether it's, geologic strata or whatever, one part of the United States, for example, like Maine versus Wyoming, completely different.
Yeah. You'd scoop up a sample in one part. You'd find a bunch of volcanic material. In another part, you'd find I don't know, some type of different minerals or metals or. Oh, so I guess we'll see what comes with that, but it's pretty sweet. Second time they've been scooping stuff off the surface, so
really cool.
Pretty dope.
I got did you just come back? What were we talking about?
Test.
I don't have no idea.
Quiz.
Did you have some craft beer while you were gone?
You guys are talking about fucking space, right?
Always talking about space.
Talking about space. I'm not even sure it's real. It's like Australia. I don't even know if it's there.
Mysterious radio signal was detected.
Rails.
Radio.
Mysterious radio signal detected from our closest neighboring star system. We have detected an intriguing signal from the direction of Proxima Centauri.
Closest star.
Is that where the reptilians are? Or they're Alpha
they're from
Centauri?
Draco. What is it, Draco something?
Who's from Alpha Centauri? Is that close to Proxima Centauri?
I think Proxima Centauri and Alpha Centauri are pretty much the same thing.
I think like a binary star system.
Are we talking about make-believe things here, or is this real things?
I mean, Alpha Centauri is
Proxima Centauri is our closest star.
Okay.
It's our closest star, and it was only.
I think Alpha Centauri is maybe the star system.
Are they a binary system? Are there two stars?
I mean, Alpha Centauri, Proxima Centauri.
Hit us with a tough question we didn't know. But pretty much they identified 980 megahertz signal coming from that direction, which is what we use for radio communication, satellite communication, FM band, pretty much.
Yeah. So interesting.
It appeared once and never returned, but it took $100 million radio telescope to find it. So, hey, I'm pretty sure they say that there is a rocky body that orbits that sun that's a little bit bigger than Earth, that's in the habitable zone that could support life. So maybe we're picking up
probably them
alien
just sending
FM.
Nickelback songs back.
Take these back. Yeah, I don't know.
Bouncing them back.
Well, I got a bash on fucking good old Canadian boys. All right.
Yeah, I fucking love
Nickelback recorded is whatever, but Nickelback live show is insane.
Listen, their old shit. Shit was pretty good.
Like Animal.
No, that's not
Before.
old. But hey, listen, you talk to Robbo. Well, that's Robbo's song.
You talk to
man.
Papa Conspiracy.
Yeah, he breaks it down for you.
Yeah.
He lets you know what it's about.
Yeah.
In case you didn't know.
It's about banging.
I'll let you guys in a little secret. It's about sex.
It's about fucking.
Oh, fucking.
I remember that
about
talk.
fucking.
You remember that? He stopped us from working one day, swinging hammer, oh, yeah, everybody gather around. Gotta talk to you guys about something.
Listen to this song. It's on the radio. It was Animal by Nickelback. We're like, yeah? And he's like, you know what it's about? we're like 20 years old.
It's about sex.
You know what it's about? Fucking.
Okay.
Fucking.
Best part about that is 100% real. That happened. That was real. Every part of it.
You're like, yep, we knew that. He's like,
yep.
Did you listen? Listen, though. You're like, all right, I'm listening.
And then he'd turn around and we'd fucking change it to 101.1 Silk
A
FM.
little
and he'd
smooth,
snap.
little soft rock.
All right.
Little James Blunt.
I know we're gonna get the new Randomatron for 2021, and we're gonna retire this one. Do you think it's got enough juice though, Zell?
We already retired
This is
it.
already the new one.
It's already been retired.
The new
I've
one?
been using the new
Oh,
one.
yeah.
How drunk were you last week?
Fuck, keep up, pal. Jeez.
Drunk.
Drink.
Listen, I've drinking fucking 250 milliliters.
You've
of
drinking it?
I've drinking 250 milliliters of pure maple syrup, grade A, baby.
Buddy, this
I don't
is
even know-
375 and
Dark
I
amber.
fucking dusted you.
That's 375. That's bullshit.
375, bro. You see that right there, pal? How you like them apples?
1 liter, and my heart is palpitating.
Yeah, you're not alive though. You're dead, and that thing was probably filled with blood, and that's why
All
it was
right,
so
well,
easy
This is
for
the
you.
first time Zell's felt his heartbeat in 500 years.
I'm back, baby. I'm back, baby.
It's alive. Fire up the Randomatron X3 then, and let's get a.
Well, it's the X4.
Fan
X3 is
submission.
dead, but you'll get it.
X4.
You'll get it eventually. Dialing up. Teletype. Here we go. You getting that?
Yeah.
Boom.
Efficient.
100 years of technology in one. Amazing.
Wow. All right. All right. This is from. Fuck.
Just do
Mila? This is from Mila.
it. Mila.
My name is Mila. Yes, you can use my name. I live in KCMO. I don't know what that is. What's that?
Dan?
What's
What?
KCLO?
KC
Dan, where's
CMO?
that?
Kansas City, Missouri.
Ah,
Holy
Yeah,
shit.
I was like,
Wow.
I was like KCO. I didn't.
I just found your podcast on Halloween. It's the first podcast I ever listened to, and I love it.
oh, yeah.
You should listen to more. Broaden your horizons, Smila. I have listened to almost all of them now, going through the backlog, and y'all crack me up. Anyway, I wanted to share my own UFO encounter from 2009 when I was 12 and living in Wyoming. I was camping with my dad in Wapiti, Wyoming, 30 minutes outside Yellowstone National Park. We were fishing in a river next to a mountaintop, and it was maybe 200 or 300 feet tall, kind of like a sheer straight cliff up the mountain. I'd also like to add that the skies were completely clear, not a single cloud. And it was the middle of summer, I think. It was June or July. Now, I don't remember who looked up first, but me and my father spotting a
me and my father.
me and my father
Hello, mother. Hello, father.
spotting a cigar-shaped craft in the sky right above us, maybe 800 feet up. I don't know. I'm bad with measurements, but I think it was about the height you see a traffic cam or police helicopter fly by. Anyways, this craft was metallic. I could see the sun glistening off it, and it had 3 lights on the bottom, 1 light on each end and 1 in the middle, pointing down towards us. They were like airplane landing lights or a car high beams. Very obviously bright, but there weren't beams shooting down at us. Thing was completely still, not moving a single inch. Then all of a sudden the lights dimmed a little, but then stopped. Then they dimmed a little more and stopped. Then on the 3rd time getting dim, when the lights dimmed completely and went out, the craft just vanished. It literally went invisible right in front of our eyes. My dad straight up said, "All right, let's go." And we hauled ass back to camp. I know what I saw 100%, and I know it was not a blimp. We were basically in the middle of Yellowstone National Forest. There are no blimps in Yellowstone. It was not a helicopter because there was 0 sound, and it was no plane because it was not moving and did not have wings. It was close enough. I could tell it was brown copper color. There is no such thing as a blimp, helicopter, or airplane that can vanish out of thin air completely silent. Anyways, I wish I had some more damning. I wish I had something more damning or incredible. I've just been thinking about my experience a lot lately, and it's what made me find your show. I first listened to Charlie Red Star because in the description you gave it was described as a cigar-shaped craft, and I'm looking for answers. Anyways, love y'all so much. Please keep doing what you're doing best. 7 million stars out of 10. Man, that's an awesome. What do you mean?
Yeah, that's fucking dope.
That's pretty rad.
That's a dope ass story. You don't
Yeah.
have to apologize saying you wish. That's a fucking wild UFO story. You not only have yourself viewing it, but you also have your dad, who is also shocked, and that must have left an impression on you too. At 12 years old, your dad being spooked by this thing. I mean, that's fucking wild.
That's a good one. That's
That's
top
a
shelf.
good Randomatron story.
It's a gooder.
Top shelf right there.
Thank you, Maya, Myla, for sending that in. Before we move on, I have two things of business that we normally don't do, but I was just going to do them today just because of the timing that they messaged me. First off, I'd like to give a happy birthday shout out to Isaac Zabala. That's from your fiance, Raquel.
Raquel.
Raquel or Raquel.
Yeah, I can't read Raquel. I don't know. I don't know how you pronounce it. I can't read
well. Raquel.
I can't read well. Raquel.
I can't read Raquel.
I can't read Raquel. And Isaac, happy birthday to you. Thanks for enjoying the show. And then also, I'd like to give a little shout out to where's his name here? Brandon K. Thanks, Brandon, for listening to our show. We know you're a big theorite, and that's because your wife, Brittany, sent in a request for us to give you a shout out. And really, the only reason I'm giving you a shout out is because of how lackluster your wife described the show. I loved it. It made me laugh. Brandon, thank you for listening to the show on your long truck drives. That's why we do the show.
Is there a quote of what she said about the show?
Well, I can read the message.
I'll read the
message.
Read a little bit.
Please
Read
do.
a little bit of it. Why
Please
not?
do.
All right. This is from Brittany, hoping to give her husband, Brandon, a shout out, which she got. And the message says this: I bought my husband an ATT hoodie and a Patreon subscription for Christmas. He doesn't like many things in life, but for some reason, he likes you guys.
For some reason.
Please don't fuck this up and give him a shout out for me. I really do like him sometimes. He drives from Seattle, Washington to Eugene, Oregon every week for work and listens almost exclusively to y'all. He listened to every episode numerous times. He also made me listen to hours of it too. And it's tolerable. So keep it up. His name's Brandon K. Thank you for keeping him entertained and intrigued on his long trips. Also, thanks for getting him going on some interesting theories, only to stop and say, you wouldn't understand. You just need to listen to the episode. I appreciate the mystery it brings to our marriage. Thanks.
That's
Brandon,
great.
you got yourself a winner there.
She's a
And-
beauty.
Yeah.
What a
Absolutely.
fucking
That's
beauty.
awesome.
That was funny. So
She's hilarious.
Yep.
Extremely
That was
accurate.
gold.
Yeah, that was perfect.
People ask me to describe the podcast in one word. I always say tolerable.
Tolerable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes. Not all the time. Sometimes it's
occasionally
completely
tolerable.
Intolerable.
We don't really give shout outs like that often, but every once in a while something pops up where
That's pretty good.
we can't help it.
And here I will preface this because giving a shout out always leads to numerous requests for shout outs. But I'll say let's say we get 100, maybe 1% gets through. Just so you know. So if you do want to shout out, you better do something to stand out. That's funny. And it's a mix between perfect timing and a good laugh.
Yeah, there's no recipe for success,
Yeah.
but that was great. That was awesome.
It made
was
it.
gold.
I had a good laugh. I was like, this is
was great.
It's the most mediocre request ever. I love it.
All right, on the topic of giving shout outs, this week's Theorite of the Week, we're going to give it out to Darius for a hand-painted picture of Ziggy Zeltron.
I like that. That
fucking-
was awesome.
That was great.
It was fucking.
That was great.
We'll make sure to post it on our Instagram, give them tag him in it, and put it on our Facebook group. So if you want to check it out, go there. But it's great. Got the one mechanical eye, got the Ziggy Stardust hair. Oh, that's good shit.
It was great.
All right. Last thing of the night. Hey, a lot of people are supporting the show, and we really appreciate it. So this week's Patreon supporters, we're going to get early access to case files, bonus episodes, live stream, Discord access, all the good shit. We got Julia Gomez Art went up in her pledge. Woo! Richmond Robinson. This might be takes the cake of longest name. Nocturnal, Grave, Desecrator, and Black Winds. Wonder if that's the name of a band. Search it if it is. Cody Ford. Emily Bassett went up to the $10 tier. The meat draw is back. It's now public, but you get a automatic entry if you're at $10 or more. Eddie. We also have now, you can sign up, you can do a yearly subscription and get a little discount if you just want to get it out of the way and not have payments every month. First one ever done is by Josh Beatty. Eddie. Savannah went up. Woo. Ray Izit's another year pledge. Appreciate it. Ingrid G. And Dominic Bodkin. Thank you very much for supporting the show. We salute you.
And as we always say at the end of these things, Merry Christmas to all, and to all keep those eyes on the skies.
Peace, everybody.
The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place. The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.